Americans are still dying in Donald Trump's war on Iran. And where is our pedo president of the United States? Well, of course, he is on the golf course because that's where Trump always is, because that's where Trump always wants to be. And nothing is ever allowed to get in the way of what Donald Trump wants in any given moment. That is what he has decided is the law of the land. But one thing does. Hate from the people who are in his cult. And that is what Donald Trump is getting today, and it is ruining his time on the golf course. We are going to get into it all and how Donald Trump's golf weekend was just blown up, but it starts with Donald Trump's need to continue to blow shit up. His resurgent attack on Iran, deciding that maybe 14 days of bombing would change things, by the way, it hasn't, has left him in an even more unpopular position than he was weeks ago in this war. It's where I want to start before we get to the golf and how MAGA hates him.
So how's the president doing on foreign policy?
Bad. I mean, he came into office, during the campaign, I'm going to end the wars. Well, the wars aren't ending, and if anything, we're adding to them. And you could just see it right here. I mean, Trump and foreign policy in 2024 versus Kamala Harris. Foreign policy was a strength for this president. He was trusted more in foreign policy than Kamala Harris by a 10-point margin. Among independents, he was trusted more by 14 points. Come over to this side of the screen. The net approval now on foreign policy in 2026. Down he goes, right into the Strait of Hormuz. Look at this. 22 points in the negative direction, a minus 22-point net approval rating. That is a drop of over 30 points. And among independents, he is now at minus 30 points. I love those notes at the bottom of the screen, Johnny B. So that is a movement of 44 points among independents. Foreign policy, which was a strength for this president during the 2024 campaign, has become a weakness for him here in 2026, leading up to this midterm campaign.
This may be because of Iran, but the president said he was going to end the Russian war on Ukraine in one day.
Yeah, he said he was going to end it in one day. Well, I don't know about you, but here in reality, the war is still going on, and obviously that has been in the news very much recently, and you could see it right here, Trump in the Russia-Ukraine war. Look at this, in 2024, again, it was a strength for him, slightly more trusted than Kamala Harris by 2 points. You come over to this side of the screen. Again, the net approval, the shift very much in the negative direction. Down he goes, now at minus 19 points. That's a 20-point switcheroo. And among independents, we're talking about a shift from plus 7 points, them trusting Donald Trump more on the Russia-Ukraine war, to now his net approval rating, negative 36 points. Again, over a 40-point shift away from the president of the United States. Again, foreign policy, which was such a strength for this president during the 2024 campaign against Kamala Harris, has become an anchor for his presidency. We're talking foreign policy at large. We're also talking about Russia-Ukraine war.
Donald Trump will only get more unpopular as this war rages on. And the problem for Trump is he wants the war to keep going because he thinks it makes him look strong, a thing that he is desperate to be. But it is, in fact, the opposite. Donald Trump looks weak, especially because he is running away to go golfing. I want to start with a breakdown of this weekend before we get to how it was just ruined for him. Trump self-soothes with golf and AI slop after public meltdown. Trump retreated to the links as Iran burned. The Pentagon faced questions over fallen troops, and his latest AI-generated post drew ridicule. Donald Trump hit the links again on Saturday following a widely panned White House Correspondents' Dinner speech and a surreal AI-generated air filter wall meant to stop Canadian wildfire smoke. The war in Iran also churned on as Donald Trump relaxed at his National Golf Club in Virginia just 2 days after the Pentagon inexplicably removed the names of 4 of the 18 U.S. military personnel killed in Iran. Trump did some work when he asked by phone at the golf course by French White House correspondent if he was going to resume fighting in Iran. He told her, if we don't get 100% of what we want, absolutely. About 45 minutes after arriving in his Gulf oasis, the president took a moment to post an AI image of a silly air filter border wall with Canada apparently intended to keep the country's wildfire smoke out, as we can see right here. This is just a stupid photo and represents the stupidity of Trump. Trump 80 has accused Canada of poisoning American air with smoke from its wildfires. On Monday, the president signed an executive order imposing 50% tariffs on Canada Canada? Because he's an idiot. The octogenarian's day of rest followed his disastrous first ever appearance as president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It was a widely panned speech from Trump in which he just rambled for hours. Trump yet again, of course, bashed CNN star reporter Caitlin Collins for never smiling, and it veered off into weird insults, and it was just a strange event, as we all saw. So Donald Trump's war is failing, his speech failed, his tariffs are failing, and everyone can see it. And so Donald Trump decided he would attack Caitlin Collins on Truth Social today after attacking her during his speech. And what was the result? Journalist and friend of the show Aaron Parnas shared on Twitter, Donald Trump is currently getting attacked on Truth Social for attacking Caitlin Collins. Someone said, get yourself fucked. You're despicable. Someone else said, idiot. There's another, you are a cruel and immature man. Your behavior is beneath the office of the president. Someone said, you stupid loser, fat fuck. You're ruining the economy, got us in a forever war, and you're posting like a child. Another user decided to respond to Donald Trump. How about let's wrap it up with Iran and stop the silly posting? So MAGA on Truth Social, not too pleased with Donald Trump. You just gotta hope that this ruins the golf weekend, and the fact that we have just come to accept the man on the golf course will Americans die is why I talked so much about the White House Correspondents' Dinner and why I was disappointed. Now, Caitlin Collins might be a bit of a different story because she stood down Trump. She says, I'm not gonna let you bully me into not going into this event. But the rest of the press, who was there as Trump spoke and didn't just get up and leave, like, get your award, show the president you're not afraid, and then leave. Don't be like chummy with Stephen Miller like Kristen Welker was. I found that pretty reprehensible. Don't allow Donald Trump to yell at you and scream, Trump 2028. Talk about the fact that the man has dementia, that he's in deep and serious cognitive decline. Like, I just feel like this should be the focus of journalists, and it is more often than not. It's not what they're talking about, and it should be. Because there is no reason Donald Trump should be able to post like a crazy person, as sick as he is, on his, 50th golf retreat of the presidency, and nobody care, or nobody ask questions, or nobody push back. I just feel like this is something that we should be doing. And especially when there's so much that this White House doesn't want us to be talking about. I feel like all they ever try to do is throw shiny objects in front of the press to distract them from the real story. It's like they don't want them talking about the deaths because of the war in Iran right now, but the war in Iran was started to distract us from the files. And thank God Thomas Massie is talking about it once again.
Talk about the timeline on this, because it took a long time last time. It took 4 months. Speaker Johnson delayed this, and ultimately the pressure built, and it got through, but it took 4 months. If that happens again, you're talking about after the midterms. I mean, do you have any sense that this is something either party wants to be debating at this point in time in the final months before the midterm elections? Do you have a sense that the speaker would let this proceed?
Look, it's a political liability to the Republican Party, but it's one that they created. Trump could fix it. He could direct his attorney general to start prosecuting crimes. That's the only way you can fix this. And then just to come clean. I mean, I believe Melania Trump when she said Epstein did not act alone. I believe J.D. Vance when he said that Epstein was connected to U.S. and Israeli intelligence. If they believe what they're saying, then Republicans should just come clean, produce all the documents, and start prosecuting men.
This isn't going away. Either we're going to, in September, get the votes, have a discharge petition and pass it, or when the Democrats take the House, we're going to pass this and empower state attorney generals. And until we have an attorney general who's actually going to investigate and prosecute, the American people are not going to be silent. And what happened to Thomas is absolutely disgusting. And I say this as someone who disagrees with about 90% of where he stands. But if you can have someone have $30 million spent against them, and the forces of the billionaires marshaled against them and have character attacks because they dared to defy the president and their own party on 2 issues, then what's happening to American democracy? People want more independent-minded. We don't work for the president, and we don't work for billionaire donors. You're supposed to go work for your constituents.
I think the files so represent, the real broken nature of our media right now, because I think it's been a lot of independent media that's really brought attention to this story throughout it and really pressed and asked for more attention. And like right now you have Katie Fang, who has done incredible work in mainstream media, an incredible lawyer, very, very successful, very smart. I'm sure like if you watch me, you probably watch Katie Fang as well. And she brought her lawsuit against Blanche and the DOJ that is winning and like gonna have more files released. It's like that wasn't CNN, like certainly wasn't Fox, we know that. It's definitely not CBS. It's not Jake Tapper calling for it. No, but like that is the power of independent media. And that is why it is so important that we keep telling these stories and keep talking about this story, and why we do have to kind of like criticize and push the mainstream press into doing the same job. Like great on Katie Fang. I saw the guys at Midas. I just did like a Katie Fang appreciation post, and everybody should do that. Like shout out to Katie Fang. If you're not subscribed to her, please go do, because this is someone who's really doing the work. As, again, Kristen Welker was yucking it up with Stephen Miller, and I don't know who would want to talk with Stephen Miller, but that's a guy who called for like the invocation of like the Insurrection Act. And now we're just like buddy friends? No, that's not how it should be. And that is why I'm glad that we have a Thomas Massie, glad we have a Ro Khanna, someone who's always engaging in independent media. And Ro had this to say right here.
Two members that I can think of anyway did more to hold the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself accountable this term than you and Thomas Massie with your efforts to get the Epstein files out, published. And obviously there's still a lot of work to do, but you actually had an impact on a Teflon administration. Have you and Massie ever sat down and talked about 2028?
Well, he should consider running. Trump has him.
He didn't rule it out. I asked him.
He hasn't run
about running on a libertarian ticket.
Look, I would say this: the survivors were the heroes of that. But what Massie and I did with the survivors was the biggest blow to the Trump administration. And when history is written, they'll say that's what began the unraveling of the Trump administration. And I got to tell you, when I get stopped at airports, the biggest question I get asked is, what is Thomas Massie like? What is it like to work with Marjorie Taylor Greene? And so people in this country want us to come together, but they don't want us to come together around platitudes and boring centrism. They want us to come together around holding elites accountable. They hate the fact that sort of rich and powerful people get to play by a different set of rules, and they want folks who are going to take on a corrupt system and have guts about it. And Massie has that, and it was great to work with him. And I'd love to see unusual coalitions form in American politics.
This is what we need more of. Pressure on the files, pressure on the files, pressure on the files. Again, we started a war because of it. Donald Trump started a war because of it. And you know that not only because, it's obvious, but also because he doesn't care about the war. He's on the golf course. He's on the golf course. So be like the people pissed off on Truth Social reporters, ruin his day, ask him questions, be constantly blowing up his phone, and ruin all the golf trips, because maybe then he won't go on them. He probably will. But it's still a good enough reason. Just ruin the golf trips. It's what we should be doing. It is your job as an American to ruin the president's fun on the golf course. I do fundamentally believe that.